Babe Ruth's secret background. Babe Ruth is arguably the biggest name in baseball history, but for almost a century, people have argued about something far from his home run records. Many old fans and even some writers believed Ruth had African-American roots. Sure, you might think that sounds like a cheap rumor, yet it stayed alive for decades. The question now is, how did these rumors originate in the first place? After all, Babe Ruth isn't black. Well, the rumors started because Ruth had features that some people in the 1920s linked to black ancestry. His nose was wide, his hair was coarse, and his skin looked darker than many of his white teammates. As you can imagine, that mix made racists of the time angry and suspicious. Now, it is worth mentioning that Ruth grew up poor in Baltimore and never really talked about his parents' family tree. That only helped the gossip spread. Rival players sometimes yelled slurs from the dugout to rattle him. Crowds in some cities joined in. But instead of fighting every comment, Ruth often laughed it off or ignored it. He cared more about crushing the next pitch than arguing about his background, and that's exactly what he did. Reporters tried to dig into his family history just to see if there was any connection to the motherland. But nothing clear ever came out. No DNA tests existed back then, and official paperwork about his parents was thin. Some historians later found relatives who said the Ruth family came from German stock, but that did not stop the speculation. So why does the theory still hang around today? Well, I guess it's because Ruth broke every norm of his era. He drank, partied, played like no one else, and seemed to connect with fans of every race. He barnstormed with black players during off-season tours when other white stars refused. That made him a hero to many black fans and fueled whispers among white critics. Modern researchers mostly agree there is no hard proof of African-American heritage. Still, the story shows how race shaped baseball's early years. Whether true or not, the rumor reminds us how easily a legend's life can grow bigger than the game itself.
Baseball's juiced to boost home runs. If you watch baseball long enough, you will hear the phrase, juiced ball. Fans and players have argued for years that Major League Baseball quietly changes the baseball itself to create more offense. It sounds sneaky, but when you look at the numbers, it starts to feel possible. Home runs exploded in the late 1990s. Yes, that was also the steroid era, but pitchers noticed something strange about the baseballs. Many said the seams felt flatter and the leather felt smoother. Nonetheless, a slicker ball flies farther because pitchers cannot grip it as well, and hitters get more carry. But league officials denied everything and blamed better hitters for the new phenomenon. Fast forward to 2019, and just like that, teams were smashing home run records again. Pitchers across both leagues complained about balls that felt like cue balls. Some even said the balls looked smaller. Independent scientists tried their best to get to the bottom of it. They tested game-used baseballs and found lower air drag and tighter stitching. That combination makes a ball travel farther, even if hitters swing the same way. MLB again said there was no secret plot, but admitted that the factory in Costa Rica had changed some production steps. The league called them unintended variations, yet the timing made fans suspicious. After all, more home runs mean bigger TV ratings and louder highlights. And surely the league can never complain about that. Now, players also noticed differences within the same season. Some claimed the league used two types of baseballs during the 2021 playoffs, including one that was livelier for big games. MLB later confirmed that two slightly different balls were used, and they quickly blamed supply chain issues for it. Of course, no official memo will ever say, juice the balls. But too many patterns keep showing up. Whether we like it or not, home run surges line up perfectly with years when the league wanted excitement. Now, how much of a coincidence is that? To this effect, pitchers continue to save souvenir balls to prove they feel different. And as it stands, the debate will not end soon, because baseball is built on numbers, and these numbers keep jumping in strange ways. Giants and the 1951 Spy Telescope. The MLB has had many memorable moments, but the New York Giants' 1951 comeback is one of baseball's greatest stories. However, it carries a shadow that never fades. The Giants trailed the Brooklyn Dodgers by 13 games in August. By October, they forced a playoff and won with Bobby Thompson's famous shot heard round the world. It looked like a miracle for everyone who saw it live, but later evidence made it look more like a science project.
Rumors started that the Giants were stealing the Dodgers' catcher signs, using a military-grade telescope from the center field clubhouse at the Polo Grounds. To achieve this, a coach or players supposedly watched the catcher's fingers through the scope. They then sent the signal to the dugout using a buzzer system, or by banging on a trash can. And by doing so, the hitter knew if a fastball or curveball was coming. At the time, sign stealing with your eyes from second base was legal. However, using equipment was not. Opponents noticed the Giants' hitters rarely looked fooled, and visiting pitchers complained privately but could not prove anything. Years later, players, including Giants outfielder Bobby Thompson, admitted the scheme was real. Former coach Herman Franks also confirmed it in interviews before his death. He said the setup ran for the final months of the season. That means Thompson may have known a fastball was coming on his legendary swing. Till this very day, baseball historians debate how much it helped. Some say Thompson was too good a hitter to need help. Others argue knowing the pitch gave him the split second he needed. Either way, the Giants' sudden hot streak makes more sense when you add a telescope and a buzzer. The league never punished the team, because the truth came out years later. But every time fans replay that famous radio call, many wonder if one of baseball's greatest moments was also one of its cleverest cheats. Cal Ripken's power outage game. Cal Ripken Jr.'s incredible streak of 2,632 consecutive games is one of the most celebrated records in baseball. He suited up every single day for more than 16 seasons, never taking a night off for an injury or even a cold. But one August evening in 1997 almost changed everything. The Orioles were set to face the Seattle Mariners at Camden Yards, and Ripken was supposed to be in the lineup, like always. Hours before the first pitch, strange whispers started spreading through the park. Some employees claimed Ripken had arrived late and looked upset. Others said he never showed up at all. The wild rumor that took hold later sounds straight from a soap opera. People said Ripken came home earlier that afternoon and found actor Kevin Costner with his wife. According to the story, a furious Ripken confronted Costner, and a scuffle broke out. The streak appeared doomed, because Ripken supposedly could not play that night. Then something even stranger happened. Just before game time, several banks of stadium lights suddenly failed. And after a long delay, the Orioles announced the game was postponed because of the power problem. Guess what? That postponement gave Ripken another day to cool off and keep the streak alive. Fans who love a juicy conspiracy immediately linked the blackout to the alleged fight. Could the Orioles have flipped a switch to protect their star and a valuable record? Anyway, Ripken and Costner both laughed off the gossip for years, insisting nothing like that ever happened. Stadium workers later said the electrical system really did fail. Still, the timing of the outage was almost too perfect. Even now, when people talk about Ripken's Iron Man run, someone always brings up the night the lights mysteriously went dark. The Billy Goat Curse. The Chicago Cubs carried one of baseball's most famous hexes for decades, and it all started with a goat. In 1945, tavern owner Billy Cianis brought his pet goat, named Murphy, to Wrigley Field to watch the Cubs in the World Series. Cianis had tickets for both of them and thought it would be fun to show off his beloved animal. But stadium security and other fans were not amused, and after complaints about the smell and the distraction, ushers forced Cianis and Murphy to leave before the game ended. According to legend, Cianis was furious and declared that the Cubs would never win another World Series. Many Chicago fans believe he shouted a quick curse on the team as he left the ballpark. But whether he used those exact words or not, the Cubs immediately began a long slide into heartbreak. They lost that 1945 series and then missed the World Series completely for generations. The team blew huge leads, dropped critical fly balls, and saw star players get injured at the worst possible times. Every collapse only made the curse story grow. Over the years, people tried every trick to lift the supposed spell. Cianis' relatives brought goats back to Wrigley for peace offerings. Priests blessed the dugouts. Fans even carried goat dolls and chanted good luck charms, but none of it worked. The team's failures became part of Chicago culture and even national jokes. The Mets and the Black Cat. The 1969 season already felt unusual for the New York Mets. For years, they were a punchline, a lovable but terrible expansion team. Suddenly that summer, they could not stop winning, and they began closing fast on the division-leading Chicago Cubs. In early September, the two clubs met at Shea Stadium for a key series. The Mets needed to keep the pressure on. The Cubs hoped to crush their upstart rivals.
During one tense game, something downright spooky happened. As Chicago prepared to hit, a sleek black cat slipped out of the stands and strolled across the field. But instead of running anywhere near the Mets' dugout, the cat made a slow, deliberate walk right in front of the Cubs bench. Players and coaches froze as the crowd roared. Cameras even captured the animal glaring at the Chicago side before trotting away. Superstitious fans immediately called it an omen, because as we all know, black cats had long been linked to bad luck, and the Cubs sure found plenty after that night. They lost the game, and then went into a shocking tailspin, dropping 17 of their final 25 games. The Mets, meanwhile, caught fire and surged past them into first place. By October, the so-called Miracle Mets were celebrating a stunning World Series championship. Chicago players later admitted the moment rattled them more than they wanted to admit. Some swore the cat locked eyes with their dugout like it knew something. Even neutral fans still replay the footage and marvel at the timing. No one ever discovered where the cat came from or how it got onto the field, which is why the legend remains one of baseball's strangest mid-season twists. Ask an old Mets fan today and you will hear the same proud line every time. The black cat chose the right side and pointed the way to glory. Derek Jeter's famous gift baskets. The story of Derek Jeter's so-called gift baskets is one of those baseball legends that refuses to disappear. The claim is simple, yet hilarious. After a date or overnight visit, the lucky guest supposedly left Jeter's New York apartment to find a basket waiting by the door. Inside were expensive chocolates, high-end beauty products, and sometimes a baseball signed by Jeter himself. The tale started circulating in the early 2000s, when Jeter was at the absolute peak of his Yankees fame. He was the golden shortstop of a team that owned the city, and paparazzi followed his every move. The idea that he could manage his private life with such organized charm made the rumor irresistible. Reporters tried for years to prove the baskets existed. Tabloids ran anonymous quotes from women claiming they received one. Gossip magazines described ribbons, engraved cards, and Yankee souvenirs. None of those stories ever included a photo or a name on the record, which only fueled more curiosity. Jeter handled it with a smile whenever someone asked. He would laugh, shake his head, and say he never left baskets for anyone. But he never launched a serious denial either, and that playful shrug kept the legend alive. Fans loved it because it fit the calm, smooth image he carried on the field. Jeter always seemed to stay out of messy drama. A classy exit plan with parting gifts, but he completely missed it. Slow-motion replays show his glove swiping air several inches from Offerman's leg. Umpire Tim Sheeta, standing right there, called Offerman out anyway. That call ended a rally and kept the score tied. Red Sox players exploded. Offerman jumped up in shock. Manager Jimmy Williams argued furiously, but the decision stood. At the time, there was no replay review system. The out killed Boston's momentum, and the Yankees later pulled ahead to win both the game and the series. Fans watching at home saw endless replays proving there was no tag. The national broadcast even slowed it frame by frame, and everyone could see the space between glove and runner. Theories started almost immediately. New York was the league's most valuable market, so television ratings soared whenever the Yankees advanced. Some fans and analysts still rank it among the most obvious missed calls in playoff history. Whether it was human error or something more, that single moment fueled years of conspiracy talk. For Yankee haters, it looked like the league protected its biggest star team at a critical time. The Pine Tar Capers of George Brett. July 24, 1983. Yankees vs. Royals at Yankee Stadium. George Brett stepped to the plate in the ninth inning, with Kansas City down by 1. He crushed a dramatic 2-run homer into the stands, and Royals fans watching on television screamed in celebration. Then Yankees manager Billy Martin calmly walked to the umpires holding Brett's bat. He argued that the pine tar coating extended too far up the handle. The rule then said pine tar could not pass 18 inches from the knob. And after measuring with a plate of the bat across home plate, the umpires ruled Brett out and wiped away the homer. Brett burst from the dugout in a rage that became one of base supporters grumbled that the league only caved to media pressure. Others whispered that television executives wanted Kansas City alive in the playoff race for better ratings. The odd replay date added more fuel. Players had to fly back to New York for just a few minutes of action in front of a half-empty stadium. Brett himself later laughed about the chaos, but conspiracy lovers still point to the strange handling as proof that baseball leadership sometimes bends rules for drama. The Pine Tar game remains one of the most replayed highlights in history,
Whenever people talk about weird umpire calls or league politics, Brett's wild charge and the eventual reversal always appear. It stands as a reminder of how a simple equipment rule turned into a national sports mystery.
Selling Babe Ruth for Broadway cash. The trade that sent Babe Ruth from the Boston Red Sox to the New York Yankees in 1919 changed baseball forever. Before that deal, Boston had been a powerhouse, winning multiple championships. But after it, the Yankees built a dynasty and the Red Sox sank into decades of frustration, famously called the curse of the Bambino. One popular explanation goes beyond simple baseball finances. The story says Red Sox owner Harry Frazee needed quick money to fund a Broadway musical. The show most often named is No No Nanette, though historians point out the timing does not match perfectly. Frazee really was a theater producer. He often balanced his baseball operation with his stage projects. He also had debts and conflicts with American League president Ban Johnson, which made selling his best player more tempting. Records show the Yankees paid a huge sum for Ruth's contract, far more than most deals of the era. That cash allowed Frazee to clear loans and keep his theatrical ventures alive. Whether the exact show was No No Nanette or another production, the connection between the sale and Frazee's theater interests is clear enough to keep the rumor strong. Fans in Boston treated it like a betrayal. And as the years passed and the Yankees piled up championships, the story of a musical draining Boston's baseball soul only grew. Writers and broadcasters repeated the tale, and it became part of Red Sox identity. When Boston finally won the World Series again in 2004, some newspapers even joked that the curse of musical theater was finally broken. Modern researchers think Frazee's move was mostly about long-running feuds and big debts, but the Broadway angle refuses to die. It adds drama and a touch of show business to the most famous trade in sports history, making it a conspiracy that still entertains fans more than a century later. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more baseball action. See you in the next video.